Cloud is in the second phase of adoption. And the first phase, almost 3 or 4 years back, was characterized more by adoption in things such as peripheral workloads, and done more by mid-market SMB, some of the manufacturing companies, some of the IT and ITs. Whereas today, in the middle of 2018, we are in the second phase where some of the large enterprises are investing into public cloud. The workloads that they are looking at are peripheral workloads, especially banks and financial services. They are beginning to move up the value chain in terms of investing in public cloud. And that creates a whole set of optimism around this marketplace. This is going to be a slow journey, but that's a significant improvement from where we saw over the last 4 or 5 years. Our general guideline to enterprises, including banks and financial services, is to move 20% of workloads to public cloud. Banks and financial services may find this to be slightly on a higher side. So anywhere between 10 to 20% is what I'm seeing as the right number for them. Few examples could be test and dev, print, some of their marketing applications that may have. All of this are good candidates to start with. There are basically 3 challenges. The biggest one is the security. They are not sure if their sensitive data is safe with a cloud provider. Secondly, the regulatory framework. On a regular basis, our policy framework is becoming a lot more stringent. Organizations need to have local copies in India. There are more stricter norms coming in, especially for banks from RBI, and all of that is driving banks and financial services to be a bit conservative when it comes to the public cloud. The third aspect I also believe is the fact that they are still trying to be comfortable with this whole cloud as a model and the skill sets which are needed to deliver cloud. So security, regulation, and skills are the 3 biggest challenges that I see for banks and financial services. Gartner believes that many of the public clouds are safer as compared to many of the on-premise data centers. In person, I have done various exchanges with various CIOs and IT leaders from leading Indian banks, and where we had this conversation where companies are comfortable keeping the data with a co-location provider, with a hosting provider, as compared to a cloud provider. So I think technically many of the cloud providers go through a variety of security certifications aligned with the compliance standards, and they are a lot more prepared to manage the risk related with the security as compared to many of the on-premise data centers who are not necessarily complied and certified for some of the best global standards. And that's why I say that Gartner believes that cloud could be safer than many of the on-premise data centers. Don't get me wrong, cloud security is important. We are not diluting it, but at the same time, there is a way of managing and mitigating that risk. And I believe the CIOs of bank should focus on that aspect. When I compare India and compare with some of the mature markets such as North America, we are relatively slow in terms of adoption. In US, they roughly say almost 50% of the applications are hosted in public cloud. But for India, I think it would be even half of this number. So we are lagging behind. Markets such as China, they are moving somewhat at the pace of India only, but yes, they're operating a lot more with local cloud providers rather than some of the multinational cloud providers which are active in India. So in that sense, Indian market and Chinese market are two distinct markets. The hyperscalers are typically going to offer global pricing. And as it happens with every global pricing, there could be unique India-related pricing strategies, and depending on the adoption and case-to-case basis, cloud providers make those exceptions for their set of customers. So it's totally driven by the provider landscape. Couple of changes. Number one, I expect more banks to invest in public cloud. I expect more investments happening in India from a cloud perspective, from a whole ecosystem, which means I expect hyperscalers to invest in India. I expect managed service providers as well to build capabilities and skills around cloud. So the whole ecosystem play will become a lot more stronger in India. So I think these are the two very fundamental changes that I expect to see in next 2 to 3 years.